Picture this. You're just chilling, sipping your coffee, open your phone, and boom, there's a rumor that sounds like it was pulled straight from a lost episode of The Office. Leafs and Sabres, two teams that have a long history of questionable decisions, apparently decided to create a script that mixes drama, comedy, and of course, pure desperation. The idea? Ship Joseph Woll and David Kampf to Buffalo in exchange for Devon, Levi, and Peyton Krebs. I swear when I read that, I was waiting for an accept and reject button to pop up like in NHL 24 franchise mode. Because in real life, this can't possibly make sense that easily. Let's break down this madness. Joseph Woll is that goalie who became a beacon of hope for the Leafs. After years of suffering through inconsistency in net, remember the Mrazek, Anderson, and even Murray days? Finally, a young, cheap, and reliable guy shows up. His contract? 3 years for $11 million. You could call it a luxury deal in the NHL world, where good goalies cost a fortune. The guy closed out the season with solid numbers, got the fan base hyped, and basically became synonymous with stability in a position Toronto had been begging to fix. And now, there's a rumor saying the plan is to let him go? Please, someone give the GM a glass of water before he hits confirmed trade. And who's coming from the other side? Devon Levi. Look, I like Levi. I think he's got potential. But let's be real, last season was a nightmare for him. The guy finished with a 4.12 goals against average and a .872 save percentage. Despite
those
still
are the kind of
numbers
high
you
level,
see when you start
represents
franchise
a short-term
mode and let your 8-year-old cousin play goalie. And before anyone says, "Oh, but the Sabres defense is terrible," I agree, but those stats are still terrifying. He's entering the first year of a 2-year deal worth $1.625 million, which is cheap, but cheap doesn't pay the victory bills. Leafs swapping a dependable goalie for a project Buffalo couldn't even develop. This is one of those moments where you just shake your head and say, no way. Now, the Leafs wouldn't just be getting Levi. Peyton Krebs is also in the package. And I like Krebs, I won't lie. He's that annoying player every opposing team hates to play against, the kind who chirps, agitates, takes penalties, and occasionally sneaks in a goal that makes you go, how did this guy pull that off? He brings physicality and energy to the bottom six, something Toronto definitely needs. But let's be honest, does this trade solve the Leafs' problem? Nope. Krebs isn't the solution for a team trying to compete at the top. He's a complimentary piece, a supporting actor, not the lead role. Trading a promising goalie and a reliable center for that? Hard to swallow. And yeah, there's still David Kampf in this whole story. He's that quiet player who just does his job. Not a hero, not a villain, but dependable. Leafs want to move his contract? Fine. Makes sense, especially because he eats up cap space that could be used elsewhere. But making that the excuse to give up Woll? The emotional math doesn't add up. Now, before we toss everything out the window, there's one detail that adds a sprinkle of logic to this crazy stew of decisions. Anthony Stolarz. The guy came in last offseason and completely took over the crease. Solid, consistent, and right now looks like the team's plan A. But here's the catch. Stolarz is in the last year of his deal, and the Leafs are already talking extension. Analysts think it'll be around $4 million per season. If that happens, Toronto might think, okay, we got a locked-in starter. We can sacrifice Woll to fix other areas. But even then, letting go of a young, reliable goalie on a team-friendly contract still feels way too risky, almost suicidal. It's like selling your perfectly good car to buy a beat-up one that lives with the mechanic just because you want an electric bike. And Buffalo? Man, Buffalo must be grinning from ear to ear just thinking about this. Woll would fall right into their lap as an immediate fix and goal. The Sabres already have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's good, but adding Woll would be an instant upgrade. And don't forget, they just signed Alex Lyon, who's basically the NHL's official backup goalie. But apparently Kevin Adams isn't betting everything on that. He wants a guy to shut the door and bring stability. And Woll would be that guy. Meanwhile, Levi, who Buffalo couldn't develop, becomes trade bait. It's a dream deal for the Sabres, the kind of trade that makes fans go, "Wow, we actually pulled this off? Amazing." Now, imagine Leafs Nation's reaction if this goes down. Toronto is one of the most emotional markets in the NHL. Any weird move becomes a trending topic. Woll is beloved. He represents hope after years of trauma. If he leaves for a goalie who's more lost than a blind man in a shootout and a fourth-line agitator, the reaction will be full-on protest level. People will be outside Scotiabank Arena demanding an audit of the front office. Leafs fans don't forgive this stuff, especially after the Marner saga and years of trying to build a team that can actually handle pressure. And there's another point. Levi is young, talented, but mentally? Dude, Toronto is not Buffalo. It's another planet. Every mistake becomes a meme. Every bad game gets a 5-minute segment on Sportsnet. If he couldn't handle the pressure in Buffalo, imagine Toronto. This kid's going to need therapy before Christmas if things go sideways. Because Leafs fans are not patient. They never have been. To wrap it up, I get the financial logic. I get that cap space matters, but this is the kind of trade you only make if you're absolutely certain Stolarz will turn into a brick wall for the next 3 years. And even then, I'm not sure it's worth it. The risk is massive. Leafs could find another way to fix things without blowing up the most delicate position on the roster. And this just reinforces a theory. The NHL is turning into a reality show. Every day, a decision that feels more like it was made for engagement than to actually win games. If this trade happens, I'm going live just to react to the memes, because they're going to pour in, Leafs being Leafs, Sabres being Sabres, and us just sitting here, watching the chaos with popcorn in hand. Drop a comment. Would you pull the trigger on this trade, or switch the GM to offline mode before he wrecks the team? And of course, hit that like button and subscribe, because if today was wild, imagine tomorrow. This madness never stops.